what I'm going to present today to you is what I have done, or I have presented in Berlin. And in fact, these are two disruptive ideas, some of them born in Portugal, so we are very proud. And I believe that with some of these ideas, we will move the world, as it was said before. So maybe I will talk about transparent electronics and paper electronics, and this is not a scientific event, so I will try to speak in a very horizontal language. And maybe the first thing is ask you if you know what is transparent electronics. And maybe you know, but for those who don't know, it's very easy. We need to combine simultaneously optical transparency with electrical conductivity. So in one material, we need to combine these two opposite properties, which is difficult. It was difficult. So if you look, for example, for metals, for coins, you know they are conductive, but they are not transparent. So how we can make conducting materials simultaneously transparent? Of course, we need to have optical properties, like the properties of glasses. But the glasses that we are using in our windows, they are not conductive. They are insulators. So these new materials, conducting and transparency properties, are the needs, or are the needed properties for making transparent electronics. And I would like to remind you, maybe the inventor of transparent electronics was Steven Spielberg. In 2004, he released this movie, The Minority Report, where Tom Cruise manipulates all this type of information in these fiction glasses. In fact, at that time, in 2004, this was science fiction. But now it's reality. And also it's quite important and also very stimulating for the scientific community to have this type of persons thinking in the future. And also by thinking in disruptive ideas, we can help them because we are working on the materials, we are working on the technology, and also we can promote or we can make through these dreams or this science fiction. The same happens much ago, for example, with Jules Verne. Jules Verne maybe was, or Steven Spielberg is a cousin or a relative of Jules Verne. So, in fact, as I said before, transparent electronics is not anymore science fiction, it's a reality. This is an example of a laptop, sorry. This is a fully transparent computer. So this part, the display, is fully transparent. Samsung, LG, all the big players related to the display industry are working in this technology today. And for example, this is just a movie that you can see at YouTube where we have a fully transparent window, but simultaneously the window is a display and is a touch screen. So, for example, for marketing purposes, we can put all these huge glasses with real estate electronics, with a lot of information, because we are working on transparent electronics. And this is an example from our university. For example, this is a glass. We used to receive a lot of students from schools. And usually this glass is completely transparent. We switch on and some letters appear, some LEDs. And for the kids, this is a magic glass because they don't see anything, but after they push a button and some display or some things appear. So this is just a prototype of a passive matrix done in our laboratories, just for demonstrating purposes. This is a flexible display using also this technology. And maybe in the future, we can have our mobile phone completely transparent. So this image is still science fiction, but I believe that in in 2-3 years, we will have this available. And how this can be possible? How can we make this transparent electronics. How can we, as I mentioned at the beginning, we are putting together two opposite properties, conducting metals, conducting materials which are opaque with transparent materials which are transparent. They don't like each other, but we are putting all these materials together. How? Because we are working with a new class of materials. We call them metal oxide semiconductors, and they are available everywhere. So this is just, since we are professors, and if we look for the periodic table, of course we would like to work with good students. We try to avoid, or we need to help the bad students, but in fact we are working with these materials that are available. They are not non-toxic. Copper oxide, zinc oxide, tin oxide, all these type of metal oxide materials. And in fact, we are in the presence of a new class of semiconductors. Maybe you know, but the king, or the material used for microelectronics, for all the electronics, is silicon. But we are not using silicon. Silicon is not transparent. We are using this class of transparent materials. And they are available. For example, when we go to the beach and we use a sun protector, these cosmetics, these creams, they are using the same material we are using for making transparent electronics. If you take a look for the cream, you can see zinc oxide. So we are using exactly these materials, even biocompatible, to make transparent electronics. And why? Because these materials, they present a low cost. Of course, this is not just fashion to have something that is transparent. No, we have a lot of advantages, namely low cost. They are biocompatible, and for some applications, these, especially, for example, for biosensors, this is an important issue. They are recyclable. The technology is green because we are making these materials using green technologies, low temperatures, and also they present superior electrical performances. That's why all the display industry is now moving, is switching from the conventional silicon to these oxide, to these metal oxide materials. So the applications are a lot. Of course, the first ones are for the display area, and we are today surrounded by displays. But since this is also quite new, sometimes when we are dealing with things that are really new or disruptive, we don't have an idea or a lot of ideas where we can use these new things. But this is just a list where we can use this type of materials. In fact, we started this work in 2006 with Samsung. In South Korea, we got a patent, an international patent, and they are starting to commercializing these new devices where they incorporate transparent electronics. Now I switch to the second part because, as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm going to talk about two disruptive technologies, transparent electronics and now paper electronics. And again, what is paper electronics? It's very simple, the possibility to use conventional vegetal cellulose paper. We are using this paper from the trees, the cellulose is coming from the trees, for electronic applications. So we are using paper, normal paper, as an electronic material. Why cellulose? Is the Earth's major biopolymer, so we have available, so the cost is very low. It's flexible, and for some applications, this is quite important. It's a cheap material, the technology is already available. Presents good insulating properties, is not conducting, and for some applications also I need to have not only conducting but also insulator materials, and is recyclable. When you talk about electronics, these images are familiar for you because electronics are these motherboards, all these type of things. When I'm talking on paper, this is completely different because this is paper. It's electronics, but the appearance is paper. And of course, we are also having a lot of problems today because some of those products are not recyclable, and we are producing what is called high-tech trash. And in fact, we are not high-tech trash or also in terms of packaging, we are also facing a lot of pollution problems like this image on packaging, especially on polymers, because the majority of the plastics, they are not recyclable. And this is the case where we can recover some of the metals, especially in parts. So we are making this high-tech trash, but we are not solving the problem, actually. In fact, what we are doing, we are delocalizing this type of problem for other countries, namely for India, for some countries in Africa, and this is a real problem today. So in fact, also today we are surrounded by e-books, e-readers, e-journals, so for devices like the Kindle, where we try to substitute paper, cellulose paper, newspapers, journals, by an electronic component. This is the main idea of e-paper. And in fact, we are working in the opposite way. We are still using paper for electronic applications. So we switch the E from left to right. And instead of having paper E, we have e-paper, we have paper E. So paper is the physical support and also has an active function on the devices, namely the transistors. So this is the case where we can have a transistor. A transistor is a switch, is an on-off, and we are using paper not only for making as the substrate, as the physical support of the materials, but also as an active component. So this is a switch. I don't go in detail for these graphics, but this is the appearance of paper transistors. So this is a piece of paper with some transistors there. So we still have paper, but we have simultaneously a transistor. And also conducting paper. So this is a LED on top of a conducting paper. And more recently, since we are working with transparent electronics and with paper electronics, why not to combine both together? We can make transparent paper. Yes, using nanotechnology. For example, this image, we can extract cellulose from cotton, and if we perform nanocellulose, we have transparent paper. Here in this graphic, we have a sheet of nano paper. It's cellulose paper, but transparent, because the size of the fibrils are much lower. And in that way, the light goes through, and I have transparent paper. And also some biosensors on paper. The idea is to have low-cost, safe, disposable, rapid, and self-sustainable paper-based platform for diagnostic testing. Also, one of the ideas is to democratize the diagnostic tests. We are working on these microfluidic on paper for tuberculosis, also for malaria, with other groups. This is an example for glucose, where we are using colorimetric sensors like a simple pregnant tests. And of course, this got some success in 2008. And for example, we like very much this news that appears at The Economist in October 2008, where the title is, there is a science for technology, as you know, and in this issue, the title was Looks Good on Paper, and reports the work that we have done here in Caparica, on the other side of the river. So also we have a patent for this paper E. And of course, this is not a single work, but especially is a teamwork. And also a teamwork with persons with different backgrounds. Because if in one team, and this is transversal to all the areas, if in one team I have only, for example, chemists, they will look for this paper exactly in the same manner. But if I have in my team physics, someone from electronics, someone from materials, nanotechnology, they will look for this single sheet of paper with different eyes. And innovation is coming from all these different looks. So, and I would like to thank you for your kind of attention. Thank you very much.